How does it feel to be back in Minnesota? Of course, you were here as the bench coach back in the Paul Molitor era.
Right. It's so good to be back. I mean, it's a place that, even though I was only here a few years, it's some place that really is kind of ingrained in my family. It feels like home. My wife and kids were really excited, so it feels really nice to be back.
When you think back on that time, are there things that you learned from working with Paul Molitor and working with the Twins organization that you think are going to help you now?
Oh, 100%. I think, you understand the history of an organization. You understand the former players that are still present. I mean, I was really fortunate yesterday. I mean, to have Tom Kelly show up at a press conference, to have Justin Morneau and Glenn Perkins and her back there and Corey Koski. I mean, you're talking about guys' numbers that are retired at Target Field that, I mean, some of them I watched, in terms of TK, someone you want to emulate in terms of how he did things. It's a really special place. So I do think that time, and then, getting a chance to work with Paul Molitor. I mean, just the attention to detail, the thoughtfulness, the way he looked at the game with one of the best players, of our generation. Yeah, there's so many positive attributes there.
It is remarkable, isn't it? The way that former manager, I mean, the good news is someday when you get fired, like, you'll probably still be invited back. Like, they're all still around.
Yeah. They're all still around.
It's pretty remarkable.
Yeah. I mean, it's something it's really special. And I do think it's even a little bit different here with how ingrained they are into the community. I mean, the two guys that stand out to me are Morney and Joe. Yeah. The fact that they're still here, they're still involved in the community, both such great players. Was fortunate. I was here for Joe's last year, have an opportunity to develop a relationship with him. So all those factors, really tie into it.
Well, you were really pivotal in that final magical moment, right?
Yeah, that's probably it's probably really one of the two things that I'm most proud of in my career. Honestly, when I was in Pittsburgh, I led the initiative for number 21 to be worn throughout the game, and the Pirates able to wear it. And then now the fact that they're letting all Latino players wear it and let other people choose. And then the conversation with Joe about catching again and him doing it in that moment, it's something that I am extremely proud that I was a little bit of a part of.
I mean, as a Twins fan, like, those are the moments that are just etched in your mind forever.
Yeah, it was it's like I said, it was one of the greatest moments of my career. I can remember, and I actually told Rodney McCormick, the clubhouse manager, yesterday, the initial conversation that Joe and I had was during a rain delay in Rod's office. People are in and out at all the time, and we were there for probably 30 minutes and no one walked in or out. It's almost like God, kind of touched it a little bit for us to have the conversation, but just to be able to do that. And then I remember standing there on the steps when he walked out to catch again, just to see the reaction of his family and the fans and what he's meant to this organization. It was something that was extremely special and touching.
Yeah. Derek Shelton is with us, the new manager for the Minnesota Twins. All right, let's be real about the situation the Twins face. And you are no stranger to a challenging situation with the team. The Pirates, of course, had a very low payroll, and it was tough, right? It was tough.
Yeah, it was challenging. I mean, it was a situation. I think we're in a way different spot right now in terms of Minnesota Twins baseball than when I went to Pittsburgh.
How so?
Well, Pittsburgh, we were at the studs. If you're building a house, we were laying the foundation of a rebuild. Yeah. I mean, like, all the way down to the studs. In a situation here, like, we have a really good starting pitching group. We have starting pitching depth. I mean, you have Byron Buxton, who is an all-star, an elite player. You have a really good young core of players coming up. So I think it's very much so in a different spot than when I took over in Pittsburgh.
Who of the existing roster players, who have you been talking to? Have you been in conversation with?
Yeah, I have had conversations. I mean, I've talked to Buck, I've talked to Joe, I've talked to Pablo, I've talked to Ryan Jeffers. So I'm starting those, and then there'll be more conversations to come. Those were just the initial ones, kind of right off the jump. But I look forward. I talked to Royce. I look forward to being able to talk to, more members of that group. Right now, it's just kind of been, making sure that got acclimated, starting to build a staff, and then, obviously the opportunity to talk to you. So I got to make sure that I get that done first.
You're critical. For sure. You got to be on CCO Radio before you deal with any of that stuff. Derek Shelton, the new manager of the Minnesota Twins. The number one question that people have been asking me to ask you is, how do you play your part in turning things around with the attitude of the fan base? The fan base is damaged right now.
I understand that, and I understand frustration, and I think any time that you go through stretches where you struggle, they're going to be frustrated. First and foremost, they're passionate, and that's a really good thing. You want a fan base that's going to be passionate. And I realize to some respect you're having to regain trust with the group, and I understand that, and we plan on doing that with this fan base. I think the brand of baseball we play is something that's going to be really important as we, look forward to regaining that trust.
So I think fans in the skeptical fans look at you as a continuation of the Rocco Baldelli years. You and he are friends. Do you view your approach as a continuation of that?
No, I think not. I mean, I think as you pointed out, I was hired by Paul Molitor. I spent 1 year here with Rocco. I mean, my friendship with Rocco goes back to I coached him as a player, and we worked in Tampa together. That's where the guts of that happened. We were fortunate to have a year here together, and honestly, a really good year. We won 101 games, and it was a really good team. But we are completely, different people in terms of our personalities, how we go about things. There are some similarities to certain things, but I'm really close friends with 10 to 15 guys that manage in the game. So I think it is, something that I understand that people think, but it's completely different.
So what are some of those areas that you say, all right, fans can expect maybe a different what?
Well, I think our personalities are different. I mean, if you spend any time around both of us, and it's probably why we mesh well together when we were together, because we are very much different in terms of maybe, are there similarities in terms of how we look at things? Yeah, but I think there's similarity amongst all 30 managers in baseball, or a bunch of guys in baseball, how they look at things. But personality-wise, we are very different. It's probably why our friendship works.
I mean, the reality is, like, the way baseball is today is driven by data, driven by analytics. Like, there's a lot of, yes, gut is still a part of it, but I sometimes think fans, when they get wistful about, we wish it were more gut feeling. Well, they only want it to be a gut feeling if that gut feeling works.
That's a great point. And I love that you brought that up, because sometimes you make a gut decision. And I'm fortunate, I don't know if I was fortunate. I got let go in May. And for the next 4 months, I actually worked on radio. I worked at Sirius XM. I did TV. And one of the things that was the most shocking to me is when managers played their guts and it didn't work, the first thing that came up was like, well, the numbers said you should do this. And I'm like, wait, you can't have it both ways there. You can't have the fact that you wanted to run the numbers, but you didn't want to run their gut. The one thing that is important, there's a lot of information in the game today, and it's data-driven a little bit, but you want information to make the right decisions. But I think the thing that we have to remember is the game is still played by human beings, and you still have to use your eyes to make decisions.
When you look at that opportunity where you got to view the game from the broadcast side after being in that manager seat, are there things that jumped out to you where you're like, oh, this, I didn't think about it this way, or I have a different approach because of that?
100%. I think that point right in there. And the thing about it is the guys that I worked with, they were really detailed and prepared on the numbers. They understood, and they would challenge why decisions were made because of it. And then they also understood the other side of why managers were doing certain things and the trust of their players, which was really important. And then the second thing is just overall preparation. I can honestly tell you, I had more anxiety hosting a show and having to do the ins and outs and having to do reads and having to understand the cadence and go to your time. And then you got a producer in your ear that's telling you, hey, you need to break and you need to get there. And then you come out and, I didn't know what the word UCLA meant, and I had to read it in a T-Mobile read. I mean, you got to be prepared. So I think all those things made me better prepared for this job, because I was able to look at it on the other side. I mean, I said at my press conference yesterday, I was the guy asking the questions instead of the guy answering the questions. And I think it makes you have a newfound respect of, how the media works.
Right. You hear that, everybody? Newfound respect for the media.
That may change here in a couple of weeks.
Well,
don't hold me to that.
Doubt.
Right? I also found out that
it might change by the end of the interview.
You can change your mind on things. You can say like, hey, I mean, I changed my mind on the AL MVP race like 4 times. So
it's pretty nice.
Yeah, I mean, you can do it that way.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that is the theme of my show here, afterwards. Sometimes I'm changing my mind from the 3 o'clock hour to the 4 o'clock hour.
Well,
New audience.
Hey, that is one thing I did find out. There is a new audience. You know, when you sit through the seminars, you got to make sure you hit back on it. And sometimes at 3 o'clock, you can change your mind at 4 o'clock because there's different people.
That's why we remind you that we're talking with Derek Shelton, the new manager of the Minnesota Twins. I'm an old television guy, so I was a news anchor for a long time, local news. And so doing radio is also very different, where it's like I was just sort of reporting what was going on.
Right.
And now they want to know, people want to know how I feel about it.
You get the interaction back and forth. I like it.
I like it. Are you going to do any broadcasting, you think?
No, they've told me I couldn't do it
They
now
said
that
no,
I'm done. In fact, the funny thing
Were
was
you that bad?
I had
They're
two.
like,
No,
out.
I had 2 shows. I had 2 shows left to do when we were negotiating the contract, and I actually had to call and apologize. Hey, I couldn't do it. And they're like, "Why are you not? You have not bailed out on anything. You've asked. We've done everything." I'm like, I can't do Monday. I can't do Tuesday. So, you know, I enjoyed it. I really did. The feedback I got, I learned a lot. I went through some different things. I had to host. We went through a thing one time. I was about 4 shows in, and the person you were doing with, their Zoom broke. So then I had to talk for 10 minutes straight. And then I also realized and was told that you don't say back in 10 because we weren't back in 10. So I went through the whole gamut of it.